made by night right there.
Yeah, that was good.
These days we're gonna just shut it all down. Just shut it down. We're live. Welcome to BUB'S Comics channel and home of the No Faces Comic Chat. Hello, YouTube. With me, as always, no special guest tonight, other than, of course, our usual special hosts. So I'm BUB'S Comics, and I have with me, as always, Roger. Say greetings, everyone.
Greetings, everyone.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Pulling the chain already. And DS Comics in the house. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. I'm 2 for 2. And already in the chat, we've got a couple of chat heads going on. We got JPL Flash is here. Late night for him, I suppose. Area 51 Mike, he's probably still got jet lag from his road trip. I don't know if that's a thing, but we'll discuss it later. We got Comic Books NYC. We got Werewolf by Lunchtime, always one of my favorite names of a channel.
Yeah, me too.
And we got Metarog. Hey, Metarog, how's it going? So, and then
we're in the chat. Bob.
Oh, he's in the chat. Oh, all right.
Yeah. Welcome to Comic Books NYC, Cavi. I don't know if he's been here before, but welcome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, welcome. I was just talking to him, and I told him I gotta go. I gotta get ready for this chat. So he said, "Oh, I'll stop by." So,
okay.
I think I brought an extra viewer. There you go.
All right, there we go, dear. And now we have the Gray Man is in the chat.
Nice. Welcome, the Gray Man. Awesome. Tonight it's just the three of us, no guests tonight. So if you're here to see someone other than us, you clicked on the wrong link. I don't know what to tell you. But if you are here to hear us, at least, we're going to go over a couple of simple questions today. And it's just stuff, it's more like stuff that people would request in like support videos or contest videos. I call them contest videos. Roger makes a magnanimous support, but I call them contest videos because I'm gonna win something. Dang it! And
it's all your perspective. It's all based on your perspective, Bob.
Yeah, I guess. I say we're going to talk about some superhero powers that we may want, and of course, this will all be comic related, and we'll show off some books too, and. Also, along with that, kind of what accessories, if you will, we would want, like, if there's a specific weapon you'd want or a specific kind of vehicle or anything like that. So I'll start it off because that's what I'm going to do from now on. We got I always get stuck last. I always get stuck last.
Well, you always ask around, and then you go last, and you get skipped because everybody else is gone, and then you're last, and you skip yourself.
That's true, but I think as a host, it's to be gracious. It's on my channel. I just let everybody else talk. Plus, you guys usually have such great things. I told you guys when I started this chat up that I wanted to get two great minds to basically make up for my own. So, I mean, really, you guys have so much.
You don't lag far behind, Bob. Give yourself a little credit there.
Well, that's only because I'm picking up. I'm a fast. I've always been a fast study and a quick learner.
I believe that. I believe that one. Yeah.
So
that would be your superpower, to absorb things by osmosis.
I don't know. That sounds dangerous. Who's Moises, and why do I want to absorb anything from him? I don't know. All right. So first off, I'm going to throw out my favorite superpower. And this is a really tough one because I originally I want to show this off real quick. Look at me digging in the boxes already. Oop, that was fast. Look at that. That's what organization will get you, Roger.
There you go.
Originally, my first thought was time travel. I've always liked the idea of time travel. I guess because I act quickly. I also speak very quickly. I guess you'd say quick-witted, but I don't know how witty it is sometimes. But I'm always thinking on my feet, and that can get me in a lot of trouble. Every now and then, I would like a very, very small Wayback Machine, like 15 seconds. I think anything more than that, and I'm probably shouldn't be trusted with it. You know, if I just go back a few seconds or a few minutes at a time, and that's it, and then I have to wait till it comes back around, then I think that will be okay. So I say a time machine was one of my first things, and then I thought, well, that first of all, I don't like powers that hinge too much on what you have, like you know, like if you're Doctor Strange, right, and you got the Eye of Agamotto or whatever, and you can use that to go back in time, right? But what if you drop it or break it or Thanos steals it or whatever? So now you're stuck somewhere. So I don't want to be stuck anywhere. And Back to the Future movies teach you that you're going to get stuck a lot of times without gas or whatever. So
you want to be able to have superpowers without any consequences and having no tools or anything that's tied to it. You just want to be able to do it like out of your mind.
Well, I basically want to, like, to me, the best superpowers are always ones you can have while you're naked. So like like, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to perform your super duty naked.
I'm glad we waited for us to clean up before we went live, because you just threw it right back in the gutter anyway. So.
And I don't mean like that. I'm just saying, like, you know, like basically if Batman is sitting around, I know he's still got a lot of abilities and stuff, but without all his gadgets and his toys, he's severely hampered in his abilities, you know? And, Thor without his hammer is just sad. He's crying over his hammer, and, you know, I guess you could pick up anything else. I guess Captain America could pick up a garbage can lid and throw it around, too.
Well, Captain America and Thor are pretty strong anyway, but Batman is basically just a rich guy who's in super good shape and has, like, MMA training.
Right.
But the other two have superhuman strength even without their tools. But yeah, I see where you're going with that. Batman, without his tools, he's just sort of like a, in shape, rich badass.
But he's also like the best critical thinker ever.
Yeah,
he's super smart.
They're saying in the new movie they're going to go back to the idea of him being the world's greatest detective, which is what I like about Batman. I like that he was super smart more than he was, had gadgets for everything. Yep.
So that power is one that they can't take away from you. No matter where you are, no matter what situation, that's one that you can never be, divested of unless, brainwashed or something. But
yeah,
and that was one thing. That was one thing that Batman. I mean, I wasn't a big Batman fan, but the era that I remember seeing him in, like in Brave and the Bold, he would always be the part of the bold part that he would always be willing to figure it out, And that was the best power ever, because without that, you're just whistling in the wind.
Yeah, I like that. I think that I also like that Batman was, even when he had his gadgets, they were mostly his own inventions. So he was still using his intelligence to create his weaponry, as opposed to just running around, buying stuff or having some magical item.
Yeah, I see him and Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark as, pretty identical superheroes. They're rich, they're super smart, they have a lot of resources, and they build cool stuff. But without all the stuff around them, they're still really smart guys and can handle themselves. But yeah, those two I think are sort of similar in that respect.
Yeah, he doesn't have the training. I don't think Iron Man really does. He would probably completely devoid of all tech. I think he gets destroyed.
Well, Captain America did train him back in the 70s in hand-to-hand combat, but that was only for about a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but after Demon in a Bottle, he can't remember any of that stuff. He stomped those brain cells hard.
Yeah, it was past that, but yeah, I mean, still Captain America, like with no shield and one arm behind his back, just destroyed him. But
yeah, as well he should.
Yeah.
So I think, since I can't be trusted to go back in time, because I might end up as a villain. See, that's the other thing. You got to be careful. Don't pick a superpower so good that you'll end up as a villain. Because maybe you guys don't worry about that, but I do. Like, what if your one superpower was that you could crack any safe on Earth? Really? When are you ever going to use that for good? You're just going to be a guy in a locksmith van just driving around town being like, hey, if anyone needs my services, I'm the best at what I do. I'll get you in your own safe for $50. You know, you're never going to make it rich doing that. So, I don't want to like have the ability to, crack saves. I think that'd be too tempting for me. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're right.
All right. So since I can't be trusted to go back in time because I probably just want to make a bunch of money or something and buy all the key comics when I was a kid. Instead, maybe if you can move forward in time or you can kind of pause time. So I think the only character I can think of, which I'm sure y'all can think of some more, that can do things similar to that will be the Flash. So to me, if I had super speed, which I guess you could still use that for Evil. He's got plenty of bad speedsters against him. But if you could use super speed, then I can almost make time stand still because I can move so fast. I can run super fast. So it's almost like time standing still. And I think he can. He actually has been able to go back in time before, too.
Yes. With the treadmill, he can go back and forward in time.
Yeah, but I think that's dangerous too. So I don't want to, I won't use that either. But, I think it would be cool. I kind of wish that I was picking someone that had flight because I think that would be really fun. But honestly, I'm not terrified of heights, but I think if I got up above the clouds with nothing holding me up, it might worry me a little bit. Plus, I might hit a plane or a bird, or I might, fall or hurt myself on a landing. Who knows? So, with this, he stays on the ground. He can see where he's going. So I think he needs some goggles. I think if there was ever a character who should have had goggles, it's the Flash. Because, you can't even get on a motorcycle without getting bugs in your eyes and your teeth. He's just running around with nothing. So he needs a helmet.
I think he vibrates through everything, so he doesn't need them.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. I'm hypothesizing, right? But it would make sense to me. He's going so fast that everything would just, he would just vibrate through everything.
Well, that would work. So yeah,
because otherwise he'd be riddled with holes. At that speed, he'd just be one big, pincushion.
That's what I think. I don't know. It may not be a well thought out answer. What do you got, Roger?
Oh, boy, that was a quick transition there. Well, you hit some really good ones there. I think time travel is problematic for many reasons. But if it did exist, boy, I tell you, how many 9.8s would we have in our collections, right?
Yeah.
Go back to those newsstands of old and pluck those Action ones and Marvel Comics #1s, and
I think about that every night before I go to bed. Going back in time to like Chicago, going to the little newsstand on the corner in like 1940, 1938, something like that, and just picking up all the new issues, all of them, the whole news rack. Like you got 7, Action 5s, take them all.
Yeah,
just grab them all, hide them somewhere that will be safe for like 80 years, and then
that's right.
Time travel back to the present and go get them.
Yep. Wow. Let me tell you, DS and I are very close because I've gone through those similar things. Think about, time travel, all the things you could do with it. And what do comic geeks think? Getting comics. We don't think about going back and saving artifacts or preventing disasters. No, we think about, getting mint comics. That's what winds our watch, at the end of the day. DS.
You start messing with other things like stopping disasters, killing Hitler. You're gonna, the butterfly effect comes into play, and you start having huge changes. You come back into your present time, and which the future, you come back here, and things are totally different. But I don't think snagging some comics is going to change the world as a whole. It's pretty safe. You're not going to have some massive changes in the world, except to you and the CGC census. Those two things will be massively affected. But World War II is not going to be altered in any way if you go back and grab a stack of Action 1s.
If you read the CGC census, what you just said is apocalyptic. Because now, whoever has an Action 1 9.0, that is now, worth a lot less than it would if we had, 30, 40 copies of it.
Well, what you do is you get 30, 40 copies. You get them all graded, and then you don't sell them. You sell like one every 5 years. And
so the slow rollout.
Yeah, the slow rollout, or you send one in every couple of years to get graded, or you sell one raw in a big auction, and you piece them out, because likely people are going to buy them, stash them in their collections. It's not going to flood the market.
Right.
But a book like that, the demand is always going to outpace supply, even if you grabbed 100 of them, which would, add 50% to the supply, so to speak. I mean, I don't think it's going to have a practical effect, but you would definitely have the highest graded copies.
Yeah, awesome. Mike brings up a good point. We would have to have time period money for this to work. So that's no problem, though. We just go to one of the coin or money shop and just get some cheap, kind of beat up bills for. You probably get them for about 2 or 3 times what their money now, and take them back. Because with $10 you can buy, what is that? 100 comics.
Yeah, I would just take Bub back with me and have him rob a bank because he can crack all the safes.
Oh, that's right.
That's
right. That's right. That's right.
Or you could go back in time for like 2 months and get a job and just work at the coffee shop for 2 months. I mean, what's the difference? How much time you spend back there? Doesn't really matter, right?
Or you can get one of those like day laborer jobs for a couple of days, and they don't even ask for ID or anything, and boom.
Yeah, but
you don't have bills to pay. You don't
have everything. I mean, you'd have to get the kind of comics you want. You don't want to be gone that long. Don't you want to be rich a little faster than that?
You have a time machine, bro. You can come back
to today, no matter what. You could spend 10 years back then. Come back to today.
You can't think linearly.
I'd say you take all the money you have now, and you go exchange it for gold, and then you go, or silver, and then you go back in time and you sell it.
Well, the problem there is when you get the gold, you're going to buy gold coins or gold bullion that are going to stamped. And when you go back to sell them, they're going to recognize this does not look like the gold that's running around in the world at the time. You have to melt it down.
They can still test it.
They could test it, yeah. I mean, gold would be all right. I would just go back in time and work for a week, $5-10, whatever, and just buy all the comics. You don't have bills to pay, and then come back.
Hey,
or you could just steal them. You could just steal them off the newsstand when the guy's not looking.
Hold on.
Back to the future.
Butterfly effect here.
We're trying to be good.
Okay. What if you get arrested and you never have children? Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
The Mike says the Society of Evil Comic Book Buyers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good one, Mike. Real good. But but really, when you first proffered this question, sometime back, Doomsday Comics asked us to create a superhero. I don't know if you remember that, Bub.
I think I do.
In his contest, I don't know if DS, if you were subscribed to him, so I'm not sure.
It's familiar. I am subscribed to him, and I don't enter contests. I've only entered one ever, and that was yesterday. So, but I know which one.
I know, and I'm honored. By the way, I was gonna say that the pre-chat that I'm beyond honored that you did that. By the way,
I missed it. Did you put up a video yesterday, DS?
No. It was a comment entry.
It was an easy contest. In all fairness, it was pretty easy. You just had to comment. But I'm 100% sure I'm going to win that contest. So I couldn't pass that up.
Wow. Well, it's not up to me.
I know. So exactly.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be completely unbiased, but mine is such a rock solid name.
Well, what name did you pick?
I'm a lock to win it.
What was it?
The Metacave.
The Metacave. Yeah, I hate it.
And I don't know. I don't know if Roger's going to share the reasoning behind it, which also is part of my choice. But if he doesn't, that's fine. But even just as a name, I think it's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, he had. I mean, I have to give it to DS, and of course, as I put in the comment, I expect nothing less from DS because he had this thought out to the very, very fine print. And he said, he talked about the view outside the window and the trees and the just the panoramic area that we live in here. And he talked about, there's more than just comics. So it's actually, you have to go more than just and talk, the name has to be more descriptive than just that. And he said that, that he gave me a definition of what a cave is, like in the regular world.
Did he write all that out? Is that all that?
Yeah, I wrote it all
Holy
out.
crap.
Yeah. And I even used the definition of meta in why it's a meta cave. And it's like a double entendre because the meaning is pertinent as well as the fact that meta is in the channel name.
Nice.
So
he meshed all that together and he put it out there. And I was blown away by that comment. I was like, man, I mean, it would take me like hours to come up with this. It probably took him seconds.
No,
I think it took me hours to read it. Sounds like
I spent a couple good hours coming up with a name.
Wow, I'm like I said, I am like just flabbergasted and honored. But going back to the question, let's try to reel this back.
No, I'm good. Let's talk more about the cave. I gotta tell you,
let's not talk no more about the cave.
I'm a little insulted that you haven't gushed over my entry, the boy hole. What's wrong with the boy hole?
Listen,
I mean, there's man caves, right? And then there's boy holes. So
I'm not gushing over anything. This is not going to be up to me. All right.
I thought yours was the meta retreat.
No, that wasn't mine. I don't even remember what it was. What was mine, Roger? I'm sure you remember.
See, you can't even
explanation of it.
He should be disqualified from the contest. He doesn't even know what he picked.
I came up with so many good ones that I can't remember which one I ended up going with. I had a long list. I stress I didn't sleep for almost 2 hours.
Oh,
coming
Lord.
up with that in the middle of the afternoon. You know how cranky I was?
Oh boy. Oh, I honestly don't remember everything. All of them are so good.
Apparently not. All right, let's move on.
It's almost like, you walk into, the old time candy store, like in Willy Wonka, and you're like, what do you choose? Everything is so delicious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's good. That's why I kind of don't want to be involved because I'd go crazy. I just would. I can't choose. So going back again for the third time.
Good luck with that.
So I did think of time travel, but because of and Bub has a good point, the absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And I'd like to think that I am moral and upright enough for me not to abuse it, but definitely you want to avoid temptation if you can, if you can avoid it. So I kind of took that one off the list, and I didn't really want to use any kind of physical or aggressive powers, because that kind of it always creates opposition. So if you have a bully somewhere, you're going to try to get a bigger bully to take off that bully.
That makes sense.
So I didn't really want to use anything like that could be seen as threatening. Superman is all powerful, right? But yeah, there are people who think that, and many stories have said this, that we'd be better off without him, because if anything happened, there's nothing we can do to stop him. Unlike Batman did in the Batman versus Superman film, but that was and the Dark Knight also he did a similar thing. But again, it's just too dangerous to have somebody that powerful, and I do believe that's true.
Yeah.
So I thought of something along the lines of A Christmas Carol, the power. Yeah. So yeah, I know it's weird, right? But
go on, go on.
I'm just waiting to hear Bob tell you after this about how it's able to be abused and on it being an ethical superpower.
Oh, okay. It's coming.
So in that, if you obviously everybody knows that that Dickens novel, right? And how this man who's obviously rich and but miserable, absolutely just miserable, and he is just a curmudgeon to the nth degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there he obviously had some some psychological problems because of his past and that created that person, right? And he had an opportunity based upon through his ex-partner for him to see his past and to see that he didn't really recognize the good in it, and to see his present and to see that he's lacking vision. He's seeing only what into himself and not what the good that's out there. And then the future, obviously that the road he's on will lead to his ultimate destruction. And if we had a power to do that to everybody who is, considering, things like suicide or murder or anything like that, and we could have them come to realize that there are other ways, other more positive and more community friendly ways of living their lives, boy, I think that would be a heck of a power, because this would be a heck of a much better world.
Well, Roger, I think you did it. I think it's the unflappable, indelible positivity that I applaud you for. So how much would this service cost?
No, you can't charge for it. That's the thing, that's why I put these 3 comics out here, right? Because we have the Silver Surfer over here, who again is not a violence first character. He's actually did what he did so that his world would survive. He sacrificed himself so that his world would survive. And we have Warlock over here, who is again, essentially at his inception was created to be a weapon, but he rose above that. He saw that there was actually, he could do good instead of evil and make the world a better place. And then over here, Bub, this one.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Isn't that a great comic?
Yeah.
I mean, to consider that maybe that there are circumstances behind people's actions that maybe we don't understand. And why don't we understand them? Because we haven't talked to them. We haven't tried to communicate. We haven't tried to be in their shoes. And once you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you become a lot more, empathetic to their situation.
Now, what? Just throwing this out there. What if somebody signs up for this service? I know it's free, but still, you got to have some sort of bureaucracy here. It'll be pandemonium, right? So assuming someone signs up for this service and they're really down in the mouth and they think that they may be a bad person and all this stuff, and then they undergo the whatever, what are you going to call it? Not the penance stare, but the passion stare. Or I think that's something else too. But whatever you end up
now
calling
you're talking Ghost Rider now.
Yeah. So let's say they do that. What if what they see is that they were right and they are just useless? I mean, there's got to be some people out there that are kind of that we might be better off without.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Oh, okay.
I think all of us are here for a reason and a purpose. The problem is that a lot of us never find that purpose because we don't look deep enough as to what and the circumstances we're in and the people we affect. But I don't believe that there is anybody that ever existed that was there by happenstance and is useless and has no purpose. I don't believe that. I have never believed that, but certainly based on my faith, I certainly don't believe that now.
Okay. Just wondering.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That's quite a thought. What do you think, DS? You got anything to say on that?
Well, I think I have a little more faith in humanity than you do, Bub, but perhaps not as much. Perhaps not as much as Roger. I wouldn't be quite the villain, but I don't think I could be quite as altruistic as Roger with his superpower. I would want something that would benefit both mankind and myself at the same time. If it doesn't benefit me at all, it's still good. But I mean, if you have your choice, why not get something that benefits you too? So I think, time travel is like my favorite concept of all time. Ever since I was a kid, those are my favorite movies. I've seen like every time travel movie ever made. I read up on time travel. I study physics of time travel, and time travel would be the ultimate for me. I would love it. The problem comes down to the paradoxes when you go back in time and you do something. I think about this a lot, and it would create maybe an alternate timeline because the original one still goes forward because that's the one you're from. You want that to remain in existence. You don't want to wipe out your own existence, but then you might create an alternate timeline And I would think every time you go back, it creates an alternate timeline, depending on how much you change it, is how different that timeline is. And I would like to have the ability to do that and then live sort of concurrently, exist in all of those timelines I've created and be able to consciously go back and forth and interact in all those different timelines. I think that would be a fascinating superpower. Yeah. I mean, you see it on the movies where they draw the diagram, they draw the line with the arrow going straight, and then you go back and they draw a separate line like a river branching off. So now there's two branches. I would like to concurrently exist in both of those branches now. And
time streams, I think they call them, right? Time streams.
Time streams, and I would like to exist in both of those and be able to switch back and forth to whatever one I want active, and I think that would be a cool superpower.
That would be a cool superpower.
You know, there's the other one would just be what Professor X has. I think that would be the best for me. I thought about flying. Flying's fun. It's useful for getting somewhere quick or getting away from danger on the ground, but it's tough to navigate if you go up really high. There's a lot of obstacles you could hit. The air gets thinner as you go up high. I mean, there's a lot of downfalls to the flying, but I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, you'd need more than just flight. You'd need some kind of guidance system. You'd need some kind of protection.
And I would want
always
to fly.
Practice safe flying. That's what they say, Roger.
The way Superman does, where you have to be like laying down in the air with your arms forward. I would want to be able to fly like in a seated position. And, because you'd have to use your GPS because, when you're driving somewhere, you see the road signs, you're on the ground. But if you're, 5,000 feet in the air, you look down, it's not recognizable where you are. You would lose track of when you're trying to get to your family's place a couple states away or something. You'd need a GPS. That's no good if you're stuck in Superman's flying position the whole time. So, if you could have like an invisible recliner that you could sit in and fly with that, and maybe with a little windshield and an oxygen supply, like the kids in Explorers. You ever watch that movie Explorers from the 80s where they have that invisible bubble sphere? Yeah, something like that would be cool. And then you could put a little Barco lounger in that and you could fly around.
Barco lounger flight. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one. But yeah, time travel is my outside of comics, time travel and the physics of time travel is like my other hobby, is just studying that and enjoying the sci-fi genre and cinema of time travel. So yeah, time travel. I'm obsessed with time travel.
That's cool. So that's what you want your superpower to be, is time travel?
Yeah, time travel, and if I create other branches to be able to coexist in them and go back and forth.
That kind of takes away the downside or the potential downside of, because if you ended up messing with a timeline that you didn't like, you could just never go back there. Like after.
Well, but I mean, there's still all those other people are stuck in it now, so you can do a lot of damage to other people that are existing in that timeline.
Is that really what you're doing it for everybody else?
You could go back in time and change something and come back on the same timeline, and it would be different.
Depending on where in the timeline you went back into.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the butterfly effect in play. But like I said, you could go back and just like grab a stack of action ones, not have too much effect. But you could go back and have massive effects and really change things. But I also think it would be cool just to explore and learn. You could go back in time. You could go back in time a week, and you could do that, 10,000 times, and you would be a piano virtuoso. Because you could just practice piano for a week, and you could do that 10,000 times.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My favorite movie.
All right, yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
I like that one a lot.
Do you know approximately how many days he was stuck in that time loop? Somebody actually calculated this.
Yeah, I saw somebody calculated it, but I don't know. It was like 10,000 or something like that.
That's right. At least 10,000 days is what he had to relive. For him to be able to play the piano like that and ice sculpture and be able to plan things to that precision. Yeah, 10,000. Can you imagine that? That's 300. So that's 1,000. Let's say 1,000 is every 3 years. So that's 30 years. No. 3 into 10. So
yeah, it'd be 30 years.
I tell you, we're in the math gutter now. We need to quit this. It's tough. It takes forever.
30 years. is a long time, man.
But the thing about time travel is also you have to be able to pause your aging, because if you're going back in time all the time, you're still aging. It's going to be really whack when you come back, and at some point people are realizing that you are much older than you were yesterday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the aging thing has to be sort of tied into the time travel somehow.
Well, like Alex in the chat, he was mentioning that, well, what if you make one little change and now all of a sudden your kids are different and like you don't recognize your kid? He's like, I'm out. At that point, he doesn't want any part of it. And I've thought about that myself with my wife. So like I think about my wife and I think like the things I would whisper in her ears now versus the things I did to get her then will be completely different, and she'd probably run out of the room. Like, like I've actually stayed awake at night thinking about this. Like if I had to reclaim her the way I did the first time, if you will, to get her interested the first time, I don't think I could, not knowing what I know, not knowing what I know now about me and her, whatever. I don't think I could have ever successfully gone in there with that, blank, let's give this a shot kind of feeling, Yeah,
I don't know. I think about it, but I think you could go back in time when this is DS, and I know so much about her now that I would know the stuff that she loves, the way I would know her personality. Like I think you could still do it. It would just evolve very differently from her end, because you would seem very comfortable right off the bat, which would probably appear, very confident and comfortable with her, which might even, be a benefit anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I think about that all the time too. That would be interesting. But you could always just go back in time to one day before and just not do anything that you did the first time you went back the day after. Like if you do go back in time and screw up your country or your family or something, you could just go back. You'd have to be able to exist in another timeline and go back over to that one and go back to a day before, and then just hide, in an alley for 24 hours and come back and not have done what you did the first time.
DS, first of all, mind blown. Because, I mean, when we're talking about temporal dynamics here, I mean, we have no idea what one trip into time would do. Can you imagine if you go back in time and you go again and you meet yourself there?
Well, all right, but think about it. If you met yourself, I think you would buy what you were telling yourself, and it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be like the Back to the Future, where they say that could, disrupt the whole space-time continuum, because actually Doc Brown does meet himself and he talks to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I'd be all right.
Yeah.
You'd risk it. You'd risk it.
I would risk it. Yeah. But you'd have to have the ability to, go back and fix things, which all you'd have to do is go back just a little earlier to fix things. But it would be, I would do it. It'd be interesting.
It's starting to sound like work, DS. I got to tell you. It's starting to sound like every time I mess up, I got to go back and fix it. I mean, some of the best moments in my life are like, oh, well, shouldn't have done that. Moving on, But now I can never do that. Now it's, oh, well, I guess I'll go fix it.
Well, another cool thing would be to just go back into a previous version of yourself, just like supplant your consciousness into your 5-year-old self.
Now that I like.
But the reason that would be interesting, it becomes more interesting if it becomes a permanent move. You can't undo it. If you decide to go back into your 5-year-old self, that's it. If you want to try again and you're 40, you got to wait 35 years to do it again. But I would still do that because you could live forever.
but would you want to really? I mean,
I would love to go back to when I was 5. If I could go back to when I was 5 years old, I would pick 5. Go back to kindergarten, 5 years old, supplant my consciousness into my 5-year-old self. I would do it in a heartbeat.
And know everything you know now.
Yes, it would be myself now, my consciousness, everything I know, and into my 5-year-old self.
So you'd have all the memories too, right? Of everything that happened and how it happened.
Right. I'd have memories. I'd be able to know a lot of things that are going to happen in the future. I'd have a mature personality. Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to my 5-year-old self.
Yeah, but you've already done it. I mean, Roger, you're acting like if you did that, now all of a sudden your 5-year-old self doesn't have a chance to live. That's still you. You had all those experiences. Everything really still happened. You just found a way to go back and do it again, with you continuing. So, I mean, you're not taking someone else's stuff away. It's you.
I think what we're missing here is that there's a reason why 5-year-olds are 5-year-olds and 50-some-year-olds are 50-some-year-olds. And 5-year-olds look at the world in a different way. They look at it with a wonder. They look at it with an innocence that we at this age really can't.
But you did already. You already did that. It's not like you're taking it away from someone. You just already did it 50 years ago. Now you get to do it again a little bit.
I still wouldn't do it. I
tell you, 5's too young, only because I wouldn't do it to my parents. I was a handful enough when I was 5 and wide-eyed and bushy-tailed or whatever Roger wants to say I am when I was 5. The reports on my 5-year-old self aren't that angelic. But I can tell you, I wouldn't want to be a smart ass, mature 5-year-old living with my parents and my sister and my brother. Oh man, that'd been terrible.
Yeah, the most frustrating thing for me, if you went back to be your 5-year-old self, would be waiting for the invention and creation of all the technology and art that you currently enjoy. If there's a TV show that you're on season 2 and episode 5, you're screwed, because now you've got to wait 35 years before you can watch episode 6.
What if you're a fan of Batman Who Laughs? And you went back to your 5-year-old self. Imagine the wait there.
It's good if you were born in the 80s and you love, Hitchcock movies and classic rock. But if you're into like the Netflix Daredevil series and you haven't finished it, that's going to be tough. Or if certain musical groups, certain movies, certain, just people that aren't around yet that you will have relationships with, that would be the tough part, to wait on that. But it would be worth it because you would rediscover them. And I don't know. I would definitely do it.
I don't know, DS. There's a few things in my life that I do on a regular basis that I can't do if I'm 5 without drawing in a massive amount of attention to myself.
Yeah, but you'll never get arrested for any of it then, bub.
They'd lock me up for some of it. I mean, they'd be poking me in a cage for sure.
Yeah, I find it problematic on many levels.
That one's a little rough. 5 he's just going back too early. I don't know why it's got to be 5. Why can't it be like 20? I could redo 21. I could redo 21 over and over and over again.
By that point, I'm a lost cause. I got to go back before that, man. 21.
How are you a lost cause at 21?
21's no good. That's no good. 5 is good. I'm telling you.
That's no good. Okay, now you see, this is interesting though. I like this question because we learn a lot about each other. Something between 5 and 21 is not copacetic for DS.
No, you're mistaken. Something happened at 6. There's no 5 to 21, or he would have said 12 or 13, or no, something happened at 6 on the dot. The day before his 6th birthday, something bad went down.
No, 13 would be good too. If it was 21 or nothing, I would take the 21. But if it was 21 or 5, I'd take the 5.
I think the mailman, when he was 6, took some Golden Age comic off his porch, and that scarred him for life. I'm going with that. So I think my power would be able to help DS. Great.
Yeah, but if I could get back in time before Metarog used his power on me, I'd be safe because he would not have invented the power yet. He would not have a YouTube channel, and then I could read it.
See, but my power, being the fastest man alive, means that I don't necessarily have to leave my time frame to be rich instantaneously and to have all the things I want now and enjoy them now. Because I could just could you imagine all the snipe bids I could have on eBay just in the last millisecond, and snipe that bid and get every comic I want and then run to the store and pick up some more cash and just a blur on the security camera? It'd be all right.
I would probably still drive to the store, though. You're going to burn a shit ton of calories.
You can't drive at 5. You ain't going nowhere at 5.
You
What are you
can if
doing?
you put your consciousness back into you and you have a little Miata.
Now listen, that's what I'm saying. There's things I do on a regular basis that you can't do when you're 5. I can't drive a Porsche around town at 5.
You don't have a Porsche to drive around town. But if you went back to when you were 5, you could get your PhD by the time you were 10 or 11, and you could get a Porsche when you were 16.
Let me tell you something. I can't get my PhD now. I don't think going back to when I'm 10 is going to make a difference. Now I can get a PhD.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I think you're missing. You're kind of confusing wisdom with intelligence, right? I mean, he would have a lot more wisdom, but not necessarily more intelligence.
Yeah, the wisdom would be key to making that plan work. So, you know, bringing back myself with the wisdom.
Here's what
because I was just a smart kid as I was 5 as I am now, but I just have I know more facts, but the wisdom is totally different.
Right, I agree totally, but that proves my point, though, right? Unless you're saying the wisdom will lead you down a different path.
I think the wisdom would. Yeah, the wisdom would definitely lead you to a different path.
That makes sense.
At some point, doesn't you kind of run out though? Because once you catch up with your original age, I mean, yeah, you're twice as old, but you might just be twice as bitter as you were when you started, or twice as hateful or something, you know, or twice as shady. I mean, you don't know.
You'd also be twice as wise and twice as rich. So, I mean, it's,
more so.
Yeah, more so. That's true.
More so. Now, you know, let me tell you something about Super Flash. Bub, I think should, you know, I know that, and you know, obviously there has to be conflicts, but I think Flash should be able to essentially beat everybody without a hitch, because he can move so fast that you know, if he can move so fast that he can pretty much time travel, nobody can even so much as think that quickly. So he should be able to take anybody. Like in the WB show, I see it. I'm like, you should be able to be around this guy, have him in jail, go eat lunch, go have a couple kids, come back, and he still hasn't moved.
You say go have a couple kids?
Well, you know what I mean.
How fast does he move?
Go take care of your kids.
Roger. I think there's some limitations.
No, like go have a family time and come back.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Well, how fast does the Flash move? Does anybody know like the exact speed he can go at? Has that ever been measured? Or I'm not a huge Flash fan. I don't know. He doesn't travel at the speed of light, does he?
Pretty close. I think that's why he's got a lightning bolt. Yeah. I think he just travels at the speed of lightning. Yeah.
Just under that, just under, believe, the speed of light. So again, it's much faster than any of us could ever even perceive. So he should be able to take anybody down, unless they're, you know, Superman or something, like without a hitch. But again, that would mean that his comics would be over in 2 panels. You know.
See, I'm also, I don't know. Would you guys want an alter ego, or would you just want to always be your superpower? Which would you want? Because I never understood. Like, for instance, Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I can't stand Matt Murdock. I think he sucks. Sorry for all the Daredevil fans out there. I love Daredevil. I think he's awesome. I love every panel he's in. I think the acrobatics, and he's blind and everything. But every time they get into the courtroom and he's like blundering around and solving a case or whatever, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I don't know. I think I don't want an alter ego. I think I just want to be the Flash. You know, I wouldn't want to be Barry Allen working some 9-to-5 stiff job or something. No, I'm just going to be the Flash every day. And if anything, if I'm going to make money legally on that, then I'll do it like as a courier service, you know, strap something to my back and I'll beat FedEx and DHL and all those, you know, I'll just run around the country delivering packages and I'll be a millionaire by the week.
Well, you would lose all your business to the people who can teleport stuff, though.
No, they're not. They don't exist. No. They're not there. So far, I got a guy that went back to being 5 and another guy that wants to tell everybody how important they are. I'm golden, man. There's only 3 superpowers in the room. Ain't nobody bringing me down.
me and Roger are making huge moves to change the world on a global scale across time and space. and you're delivering packages cross country.
That's what I'm doing for money.
He's a souped up mailman, and here we are trying to make a difference in the world.
Right.
Hey, let me tell you something. If I delivered your package perfectly and didn't screw it up and deliver it to your neighbor's garage or something like that, I'd be your hero for the day. That's worth paying for. It's all I'm saying.
Silver Age Dave says, my money is on DHL.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll try not to run past his room too fast and knock all his comics off the wall. Little passive-aggressive speedster work.
You see, DS, what I was talking about, absolute power, how it corrupts. This is a perfect example. It's, the first person that complains against Bub is like, oh, you're not getting your packages anymore.
Hey, there's other services.
You'd be like the soup Nazi in Seinfeld. No soup for you. No package for you.
That's about right. I tell you what, though, DS might give me a run for my money because he'd probably be investing in FedEx when he's 6 and 7, and trying to make $1 million off these shipping companies, and it'd be called DSC or something instead of CGC.
Yeah, I mean, if I went back to the time I was 5, I would be able to save up enough to buy, a couple hundred shares of Microsoft in like 1984, and just all you'd have to do is just buy 1,000 shares of Microsoft at 84 or 85 and just hold it for 6 years and sell it, and you'd be a multimillionaire. That's all you'd have to do.
Isn't that what the secretary did that worked there? The secretary had a stock option, and she just kept it for a couple of years, and then she sold it, and all of a sudden she's like not a secretary, she's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what about accessories? So it sounds like DS wants some sort of invisible jet because he wants to sit and fly at the same time. I don't know. I
want the sphere from Explorers.
The sphere from Explorers.
An impenetrable, non-inertial sphere where the inertia of movement is not felt inside the sphere, and you can put stuff in there and sort of chill out in the sphere that's impenetrable and blocks all inertial movement. And that would be my accessory. That would be awesome.
That was a pretty small sphere. I mean, it fit a couple of kids, but
they changed the size of it because initially it was a tiny dot and it went flying around putting little holes. They were able to adjust the size of that, and they made it at first just big enough for one of the kids, and then they made it big enough for that carnival ride that they found in the stream bed. So you can change the size of that.
Well, I've decided if I'm running around the earth that fast, then I don't need probably too many accessories. But one thing that would be really nice is I might need a weapon because, as Roger said, there's worse people than me out there somewhere. So I have to find him. He's going to be digging for him. But I think I want a lightsaber. I think it's the coolest, the best weapon out there, and you can use it for defense. It's portable. It's small. You can bring it back down to size and keep it with you all the time. I think it loses a little bit without having the force ability, but I still think it would be nice to have. And with my super speed, think of all the destructive devastation I can create with that, just holding it and running. I mean, that would be insane. I could clear forests.
You would have significant difficulties using a sword made of light while you were traveling at the speed of light.
Not if you point it forward.
Well, nothing's gonna come out. Because that's an absolute cap of speed in the universe, that if you are going at the speed of light and you turn on your lightsaber, nothing will come out of it. Because light can't go faster than you because you're already going at that speed. Yeah.
It would dissipate.
Not so good.
Dissipate. Yeah, correct.
No, couldn't it come out at the same speed that I'm going? If I kept pace with it. If I kept pace with it, I think it would be okay.
Listen,
I think I could get it in a stagnant state if I kept pace with it. That's what I think.
Maybe you can put some kind of a field over that.
Yeah, you'd have to turn it on before you started running, because once you start running,
yes,
you could have some kind of shield over it, some kind of field that would contain the light in a very narrow pattern, which is probably what a lightsaber is. I'm assuming that it somehow contained photons. And if that's the case, it would work.
Yeah, CDS.
All right, yeah. I mean, go for it. That'd be cool. You
Whatever.
could deliver
You
your
guys
packages
I'm
while you're
running at
chopping
the
down
speed of
trees.
light. I don't need nothing. I'm running at the speed of light. That's all I need. Get your packages the Flash method, or don't get them at all. I don't care. You don't like that? Go talk to Roger, who'll make you feel better about yourself. Don't like that? Talk to the 6-year-old boy genius. Everybody's lining up.
Now there is
Barnum and Bailey Circus.
there is one other thing along with what I said, right? And that is that there's one other really superpower that I think would complement it, if that makes sense, right? And that is teleportation. I would like to be able to teleport because I see that you have to sort of realize these things, right? That you'd have to have some way of realizing when somebody needs your help, right? And besides that power, you would need to get there before a tragedy would occur. So I think a teleportation would be a very, very useful. I know you said accessory, but you can have a teleportation belt or whatever. I don't care, but the ability to teleport.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I think that's a great idea. I like that teleportation.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous. Like I'd be afraid to teleport from one spot to another and wind up like in a wall or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I said you'd have to have some complementary powers, like I was telling DS, for navigation. And, obviously, the rotation of the Earth would change as you're teleporting. You'd have to have something that would figure all that out. But once you do that, obviously, you shouldn't teleport into buildings, things like that. It would be more like open fields, things like that.
Now, Roger, I'm a little confused. How is this teleportation going to serve the greater humanity and make them feel better about themselves in a general manner?
Well, that wouldn't, but that would.
I see.
That would give me access to them much more. Like, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say that there's some tragedy that's about to occur in France, right? There's some guy that's holding these people hostages. Well, my power would be able to have him realize the error of his ways. But if I can't get there, then it's useless. So I have to be able to get there at critical moments. So that's why the teleportation would be a useful, accessory power.
Also, in the future, teleportation, if it's instantaneous, would be much more effective when you go beyond the Earth than it would be traveling at the speed of light, because it would still take 2 seconds to get to the moon at BUB'S speed, but you'd be able to get there instantly. So teleportation would be much better when you go beyond the Earth if you're thinking long term galactically.
Right, because there's less obstacles and there's less navigation involved.
And it would still take it takes a long time to travel at the speed of light to even get to the moon. It's a few seconds, but if you can teleport places.
The moon. I'm not going to the moon. He said he's going to Paris. Why do I have to go to the moon? I want to go to Paris. How about Italy? We got anybody hurt in Italy?
It was an example. All
right.
Yeah. Plus, don't you know that the Nazis set up that base on the far side of the moon? So you can get to that to destroy.
I saw that movie.
Yeah.
Asteroid M, isn't it?
What was that?
I don't know.
No, there is a really cool movie. A little note if anybody's
dog got out.
If anybody's in the chat or either of you guys are interested in seeing a really cool, like independent time travel movie, there's one called Lunopolis, and it's a really cool movie. Now, nobody's ever heard of it. It's really cool though. It's called Lunopolis, and it's time travel, and it's about the moon, and like a base on the moon type thing. But yeah, really, really cool movie.
Well, you'll need some sort of device too, won't you? I mean, when you're going back in time, you're going to need something. Or are you just going to go back?
What do you mean?
Well, don't you want some sort of weapon or some sort of, I don't know, something cool? I mean, heck, man, you're going to go back. You're going to be 5 years old. Man, I don't think that's as cool as you think it's going to be.
I mean, there's Transformers, there's G.I. Joes, there's remote control stuff. There's all kinds of cool stuff when I was 5.
You want to be 5 and you're going to run the local Radio Shack? Is that your... They're like Tandy computers and remote control cars.
Man, I would love to go back, and I get jealous when I watch like Reaper Tate's videos or some of these other guys, or Roger when he was showing all his video game systems. I was like, man, I loved playing that game on that one. Or you go back and you could play on the Commodore 64 or Atari or like the original Nintendo. You know, the little handheld ones were awesome.
Oh, the tiger.
Yeah, the little tiger ones. Those were super cool. And unless you're a collector now and you spend money and you search for them and they're hard to find, you know, it's tough to enjoy those now. But if you went back to when I was 5, you'd be able to enjoy all that stuff.
Man, remember when those things would ramp up so fast, you just couldn't do it? Like, you had to anticipate the anticipation. Like, need like Jedi skills to get through those.
Yeah, I like those. I had the handheld Castlevania one at one point, and that one, I absolutely loved that one.
Man, I had the X-Men one too that people like. I had several of them, and I just, who knows what happened to those.
I mean, there's people that collect them, and you can still find, if you go on eBay or flea markets, unopened packages of those, like backstock. You can find them, or unopened packages of those Tiger handheld video game things.
Oh yeah, I used to have some.
Yeah, and they're really not that expensive. I think some of them probably are, but if you just want one for nostalgia, huh?
How did we get to that?
I asked DS.
He said there was no cool stuff. I'd have to take something back with me that was cool when I was 5, and I was like, "Oh, everything was cool back then."
Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, sorry about that. The dog apparently went after a deer in the backyard. So,
who won?
Well, she was tethered, so the deer got away, but he tried to get to her.
Did you chase the deer down and explain to the deer how it would have been better off not leaving its little nest this morning?
Well, I really didn't have time. I wanted to get back to the chat, so I'll take care of that later on. Yeah.
Good move. Well, DS is going to play with his Voltrons and Transformers when he's 5.
You have a Voltron?
No, but I'll tell you, I used to go to a mall in New Jersey when I was a kid, probably around 5 or 6 or something like that. Maybe it was 9 or 10. But they had this toy store that was not like KB Toys. It was some other random like toy store. But they had this Voltron. It was like a 2-foot tall Voltron toy that I wanted so bad. And every time we went there, I would look at it. And I'd never be able to buy it. I never owned it, but that was like one of my ultimate toys that I never owned when I was a kid. And I would definitely get that.
I know what you're talking about. Is that the one that actually came apart to the different lions?
Yeah.
And that's
I had that. I had that when I was a kid.
You had that?
Yeah, it was heavy metal. It was really heavy. Like when you drop that, I have so many memories of picking up Voltron by the waist, and like one of the lions would dislocate from the leg and drop straight down on my foot. And like the top of my foot would get cracked by that thing all the time because they would get really loose. The parts would. But yeah, I had it when I was a kid.
Yeah, after that, I think I immediately on every Christmas list put down the Transformers, and I ended up getting the whole, all the Predacons that formed the Predaking. That was like the Transformer version of Voltron. And then I got the Omega Supreme one that would like turn into a space station with a rocket. I had that complete, and I actually had both of those complete in perfect working condition. And I, for some reason, when I was young, I put the instruction booklets in Ziploc bags, and I just got those like 3 or 4 years ago. I got them from my parents' basement, and they still had all the instruction booklets and stickers and all the little weapons complete, all in Ziploc bags. And these were in like a plastic tub, and I ended up selling them. I sort of regret selling the Predaking because that was really my favorite toy. But yeah, I mean, I got a good amount of money for those.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe you did go back to yourself when you were 5, and the only advice you had was put those in Ziplocs.
Yeah, I actually still have a couple. Let me show you. I have them right here.
Oh, great.
I saved a couple things. I was just going to frame these for nostalgia reasons, but I just saved a couple things. They were like duplicates or something. I've got some other ones, but here's an instruction booklet for the Omega Supreme.
Omega Supreme, yeah.
And this is the original instruction booklet that came with the one I had.
That was a massive toy, wasn't it? Wasn't that like a huge toy?
Yeah, I mean, it came with all these parts.
Wow. And became like a train or something?
Yeah, I mean, it turned into like a runway with a tank, or like a track, a circular track with a tank and a rocket in the middle. Let me see if there's a picture of it completed on here. I don't know, but I think these like 80s toy diagrams are so cool.
Oh, those are cool.
I mean, they're like schematics. So I just got these because I'm going to get them framed and put them up whenever I get a comic room.
Hey, there we go.
They're not worth anything, but they're super cool. And I've got one. You know, I've got a few of these. These came in all of them, and this has
That catalog?
at the time all what they were selling on the market for Transformers. So you have this series, and then I've got one of these.
Nice.
And this is cool.
Oh,
this is like
cool.
I've got two of them here. Look at that. But this one's got the whole lineup, I think, every Transformer. The entire lineup of Transformers on it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And there's the Predaking and all the Predacons up there.
They got the Dinobots on there?
It depends when they came out. Yeah, there's the Dinobots.
Okay.
Let me see. I think, are these... I don't know if these are the Dinobots.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I don't think so. They're
No,
dinosaurs,
that's Space Lynx.
Oh, I had that one. I had that one. The one that turns into the shuttle and then turns into the dinosaur. I had him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of these extras I just kept. And then I had some other random little toy, Starcom. I don't even know.
Starcom, wow.
Yeah. So this is cool. I had all these.
You had all of those?
Yeah, I had all these. That's why I kept this, because I'm gonna, put all these in like a frame at some point. And yeah, it's just nostalgia for me.
I had the bottom two on that row. Not the bottom two. The one with the legs and the carrier that had the cargo bay.
Yeah, the battle crane was cool. My favorite one was the I like the Shadow Raider. That was my favorite one here.
I never had that.
That was cool. I had the little missiles. I actually still have that somewhere around here. I think the missiles might be missing.
I had the Shadow Invader when I was a kid. That fit like all the different action figures too. It was perfect size.
I had the $6 Million Man. I'm a little older than you guys, obviously. I had the $6 Million Man and his little capsule and Bigfoot and Maskatron and all that stuff. That was cool.
Well, I didn't do a video on it. I thought about it, but I just never got around to it. So I'll show, since you're showing those. So my parents were in town the last couple of weeks, and my mother had threatened to bring me a bunch of stuff that she found after I left, which, obviously was some time ago. So here's some of it. There's a Voltron book, Voltron, The Deadly Flowers. Don't ask me. It's from 84, 85. It's actually in pretty good shape. I give it a VG minus maybe.
Wow.
And they're not really drawn. They're actually stills from the cartoon.
Yep.
So which is kind of blurry and kind of rough looking, but that's
anime from the 70s or something, 80s.
So still pretty cool. I've got this Peanuts Classics by Charles Schulz. Talk about writing on the cover.
That's been well loved.
I mean, this has, you can see the thread showing on the bind there.
Oh man,
that's pretty rough. I'm sure it's missing a few pages too. A couple of other cool things. I had this, which everything's beat up, obviously. Superman the movie. This is the one that they gave out when you went to see the movie.
Hey, I never got that when I went to see it.
Yeah, well, you should have. Well, you remember where were you? You were up north.
I was in Miami at that point.
Oh, in New York, they had all these premieres. It used to be New York used to get the movies before everybody, like by a week. And they would do all these big events like at the Ziegfeld Theater and stuff. And you'd see it on the great big screen. And then you'd get these promos when you went for the opening week that was only in New York. The big cities would get them first.
Right. I remember that. Like LA, I believe, had a day or two early.
Yeah. And she brought me a couple of comics. New Defenders 131 in poor condition. Invincible Iron Man 162 in even poorer condition. I'm pretty sure that's detached on at least one staple.
Did you get those like off the rack?
I'm going to guess that they're my brothers because I think they're from like 82.
Yep.
So
60 centers, yeah, 82.
Unless I had gone back in time and I was like DS kind of 5-year-old running around, then that's a little early for me. So my guess is
I was going to say you started really early.
Yeah. This one's not as old. This one was a video game store. Anyway, it was the Marvel Milestones reprint of the Hulk 1. Just beat all to crap. And it came with like some trading cards and things. And it was, I think it came out when the Ang Lee Hulk movie came out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They're still wrapped up. I don't even know what those look like. I might just look them up and leave them wrapped.
Cool.
So a couple of weird stuff like that. And then the rest, I don't know why. She brought me some Spanish to English dictionaries and some Spanish grammar with ease. She was like, I know these aren't yours, but you might want them. Perplexing puzzles and tantalizing teasers. That should be the name of our next chat.
That's a really good name. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Volumes, 2 volumes bonus as one, or bound as one.
Bound as one.
Bound as one.
So they couldn't sell either, so they just bound them together.
201 Spanish verbs, the classical Spanish, apparently.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then she brought me some of this like sharper image type stuff that I remember having when I was a kid. That's
Rolling
$5.
What?
Rolling space wheel. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
The mystical power of magnets.
Oh yeah, is that like the magnet where it rolls forward and then it rolls on the bottom of it?
Yeah, and it kind of rocks back in.
Yeah.
Man, there was something else. Here, guys, talk for a minute. I gotta go grab it.
Well, looking back into Bub's childhood here, this is like a little time capsule almost. Yes.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
Well, that one. Man, that time travel didn't work out too well. He came back just in time.
I'm
pretty quick
because I'm that fast.
His flash speed, so that was super
Yeah,
quick.
that's right. He's a speedster. I forgot. Yeah.
Look at this drinking water thing,
yeah,
Bob and Birdie.
Bird. Yeah.
I used to have one of those, obviously. And then some more of these little balancing toys and things I had when I was a kid.
You got a hand bubbler?
I don't know what that is, but I don't have one. And if you get caught doing that when you're 5, they'll send you back to your time. The reason I drag all this out is I'm going to show you this. So I used to keep my bags from like the comic shop and stuff. So this one was from 1993, and it's the Batman symbol.
Nice.
So that's an old comic shop bag.
Ask me where I buy my DC Comics.
Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah. Honestly, I can't remember.
Pretty much that's just saying, I'm a nerd. Ask me where I buy my comics.
Hey, I didn't mind. That Batman was cool then, man. That was the 90 or the 89 Batman symbol there. We were all
that's during the movie.
Loving that. Yeah.
I'll tell you some stuff I think was probably a good investment if people are doing it, is like the posters that the comic book stores were putting up in the 80s and the early 90s. Some of those are starting to go up in price and they're getting harder to find because, like the cool like Wolverine or Buy Your Marvel Comics here, all that stuff from the 80s and the early 90s, all those posters that the comic shops were putting up are still out there. You can still find them, and those are good pieces to own.
We need to find those.
Yeah. I mean, I see them around on eBay sometimes, but I don't spend comic money on them. But and I don't have a place to put them up is another reason. I had one good space for something, and I bought an original Tron movie poster. And that took up the space I had.
But you might have space in the future, so you might, if you see it, you might want to just keep it.
I'm a little worried about that right now myself. I'm a top bidder on a poster, and I usually don't buy posters because it takes so much space.
Yeah,
and I'm worried that if I win it, of course, I'm more worried I won't win it, but I'm worried that if I win it, I'm going to have to do some major remodeling. And I just did a whole new room razzle-dazzle this past weekend. So I'm worried I'm going to have to move some stuff around. And my wife got me, I've got a birthday next month, and my wife got me a couple of my Grail figures. So I'm going to have to make some room for those too. So a lot of stuff going on. The room needs to be bigger. I need to move into Metarog's room. He's got a big room.
No, it's not that big, really.
If you organize.
I'd say it's 12 by, I'd say 14, 12 by 14.
That's about what mine is.
It's probably the same size, but he's not splitting it like you are. You have half of the room and she has the other half, right, Bub?
Well, she more has 2 designated spots.
Yeah. Her half is shrinking every day. It's gone from a half down to like a little corner, and pretty soon it'll be gone.
Hey, she gave me the go-ahead that I can put the ladies' home journal in her corner of the room if I get a nice frame for it. So now I'm on the hunt for a nice, big, hefty frame that I can put that ladies' home journal in. Then it's going on her side of the room. So that's awesome because I've never been able to display it because it's freaking huge. It's like a life-size magazine. So it's, I think it's 14 by 11, I think. So really hard to find a good spot for that.
Yeah, just watching the chat here, Silver Age Dave has a bunch of like those poster type things. I think he says he can't find them. They're somewhere in there, but yeah, he's got a lot of those cool little like posters and displays and stuff like that. And then Knights of Old is saying he has that massive Marvel Universe poster from the late '80s. I know the one he's talking about. That thing is super cool.
Yes, I've seen that.
That's big though. That takes up some space on a wall.
Is that the one that has like all the superheroes?
Yeah, it's got everything on, all of them on
there. Yeah. That I'd love to have. It's 5 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah, it takes up an entire wall pretty much. That thing is like a banner.
I'd find a place for it. I'd find somewhere. Yeah, I'd find a place for that one. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I had space to hang stuff other than just comic books, I would try to get the little instruction booklets from toys from the '80s. And frame those and hang them because I just think they're so cool because of the toys and they're like little schematics. That's why I save these. Those are the things I would hang, but posters take up a lot more space, and these instruction booklets, you can put a lot of them into a single poster frame. So that's my plan with some wall space when I have it.
See all the video game instruction manuals I have. I have a whole box full of them.
Oh man, I've got a lot of Lego instruction manuals. Like I got a box of those.
Nice.
Yeah, those are good too.
Yeah,
Legos are pretty cool. Legos are really hot now, or they were recently.
Yeah, you could sell those manuals too. People have a hard time. A lot of them didn't keep the manuals, and they try and go back and buy them. You can. There's a whole market just in selling those manuals, but we're not interested yet. I tell you one thing, Mike in the chat, Area 51 Mike. I don't know if he's still watching, but he had shown his room off recently. I don't know if he's changed it a lot, but I remember when his room, his like comic / actually the statue room, he had taken posters and he had attached them to the ceiling, like framed them and attached them to the ceiling. So if you really, really need the room, and there's that poster you want to have, he framed it and attached it to the ceiling, and they were like floating in the ceiling.
So they were hung. They were hung from the ceiling.
Well, I don't know what he used. It looked like they were like just drilled down, like like he had clamps maybe on the edges of them. I'm not sure. You have to ask him.
Okay. I don't know. My ultimate comic room would be honestly like a yurt. I would have like my house, and then next to it I would have a yurt. A yurt is one of those like circular buildings. I guess they're probably from like Asia, like Mongolia, those type of areas. And it's just this round, big, huge, round building that's wide open in the middle, and it's got like a pointed roof. And that would be a comic room, the whole thing. And they make small ones like, 20 feet in diameter. That would be a really sizable room, and that would be an awesome place. You could set up tables and all kinds of cool stuff in there.
It's like a bungalow with a little hole in the middle, right? That's the yurt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I remember seeing them before, but I'm just.
They used to call those pouting houses, right? For when if you were in a bad mood, you go out, sit out in the pouting house.
I never heard that, but
that's just in the country, I reckon. I
think that's where they used to put like the stuff that you didn't want in the house, like it would smell, like the furs and the skins and all that stuff. They would put them out in the yurts. And because that's why the hole's there, so it would have air circulation.
Yeah, and they make, you can buy them now. They have ones that you can get like metal insulated, climate controlled ones, and that would be cool. It wouldn't take up any space in the house, and they're not too expensive as far as buying a structure. I mean, you can buy like those aluminum sheds and garages. It's reasonable priced if you have the money and you got like a if you're well off. That would be my ultimate dream for like a comic room.
Oh, Mike is here. He says he uses edge clamps.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh. So he had them pinned to the wall, to the ceiling, off the edges of the frames. Yeah, it had his whole ceiling filled with them. So there's more space, is all I'm saying, Roger. If you run out.
Well, that 5x5 would look good on the ceiling because that would be perfect. You have two of them, and boy, you'd have a heck of a view.
Yep, there you go.
You could lie down here on the floor and just look up.
And just pass out in your comic room.
There, yeah, that would just take it to a whole nother level. Yeah, I like it. I like that idea.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've done it again. 7:20, or 8:20, or whatever time it is. We've solved nothing, but we learned a lot more about DS than I think we even wanted to. As always, more questions than answers, but the new questions are sensational. So
that's right. I agree wholeheartedly there. Yeah.
Hey, anytime anybody is down for a time travel discussion, let me know. I'll be there.
Well, I'm glad. That's worked out pretty good. I want to thank Roger, of course, for joining us and being here as faithfully as always. He's got something coming up this week. I'm sure you can check it. I don't know if he's announced it or whatever, but he's got some more crossover events he's working on. And if any of you want to know what DS Comics looks like, recently he was featured in the America's Most Wanted number 78. So if you go down to 70, it's just the back of his head in an alley, but that's all that they know so far. But that's him, number 78. So yeah, but he's making some appearances around the YouTube as well. So check out everybody, sub everybody, and do all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next time. This is BUB'S Comics telling you to read a comic, and you guys do what you do.
All right, everybody do your homework. See you next week.
Okay, everybody. Great show as always, guys. You two are the best. And everybody be blessed and be back. Bye.
All right, guys. See you.
All right, see ya.